I'm Nick Lovelace. I am the managing attorney of Knipp Law's Kannapolis and Concord offices. If you are not familiar, our Kannapolis office is literally 10 feet out that door. We are the second door on the right. We also operate the conference room up front. So obviously, if y'all ever need anything, we hope that y'all will those of you who know me, continue to use us. We really appreciate it. And if those of you who want to use us, reach out. I'm always available, as many of you can attest to. So first off, I just want to spend a little bit of time giving just a little bit of an update as to where we are generally. Probably take about 5 minutes to just do that for October 2020. So I'm going to hop over here. Let's see if that works. There we go. So the current state in October 2020, you're all real estate professionals, so you probably have a good idea of how the market typically is right now. And it's a little more hot than normal. Still very strong seller's market, and how the market will be. It is going to tail off a little bit coming up to the winter months. That's just natural and how that's going to go. In terms of the COVID update, we don't really have any real changes on the horizon since things are still rolling along. They're still going up and down, wherever you align politically. I don't see much changing right now, especially given the election coming up next week. And it could be several weeks before that is actually resolved. So we'll see kind of how and where things go once the results of the election are finalized. The register of deeds is still, to my knowledge, only recording electronically. They will accept appointments if you need special things like marriage certificates or any other special circumstances that you need. If you're having like a notary reappointment like that. And every county is also doing things kind of their own way. So I'm more focused on Cabarrus and Rowan County because that's where I generally practice, and that's the practice that I'm typically seeing in those counties. Remote online notarization, if y'all don't know whether that's available or not, that is currently available right now through June 2021 in conjunction with the order from the governor. Secretary of State has made that available. Basically allows folks who are concerned about closing or coming into someone's office to get documents notarized from afar. It is a massive hassle. I have not done it yet. Please don't make me do it, but if I have to, then I will. Many real estate attorneys' offices continue to vary on their policies across the board. We are continuing to do in-person closings. Our office right now is asking that clients come in and wear masks. Some folks are, some folks aren't. We also recognize that it is a choice to wear a mask, and so that is, we are honoring that. But it is our office's policy that is our preference that masks are worn. But other offices are still doing things like car closings, signing outside, everything like that. It's not a personal touch. I don't really like that, but I can only operate the office that I operate in the way that I like to operate it, and so that's what we're doing. And then interest rates, talk to your preferred lender. They continue to be low. From everything I see, they're going to continue to be low into next year. But obviously, with that comes high volume, especially with refinancing. Make sure that you are working with a lender who prioritizes purchases to refinances when you are selecting your lender, because there are a lot of lenders who are going to take that easy money and work with hey, easy refi, boom, let's knock them out. Make sure you work with lenders, and I know that we have a lot that we work with frequently who do prioritize purchases, because those are the folks that y'all are working on. Those are what are going to get y'all paid. All right, so now to move on to the very exciting topic of forbearances, foreclosures, and short sales, the 2021, or I put 2022 reality. And the reason I'm saying that is because we don't really know in terms of how long this pandemic is going to last, if y'all understand what I'm saying. Basically, and how things are going to get stretched out. So it could be an issue where the can continues to get kicked down the road. It's really just very difficult to say right now where these things will begin to hit. So first off, I always like to start off all my presentations with what I consider helpful definitions. So first off, forbearance, and what that is basically an allowance by a lender or a loan servicer for a borrower to delay payments for a period of time for good cause shown, generally a hardship, generally in connection with some sort of loss of job, loss of income in some way. We are seeing a lot of forbearances. If you're not familiar with the term, make sure you become familiar with the term, because we are seeing a lot of different kinds of forbearances that I'm going to go through in a later slide. Your promissory note. So that is just your, I always say this through the closing, the simple definition, your promise to repay the bank the amount is borrowed at certain terms. So basically what that is you sign a loan, you sign a promissory note saying, I will pay you back at this interest rate. And then if I don't pay you back, then that is when the deed of trust is invoked. Your deed of trust is your document that secures the promissory note with the property being purchased. It lays out the terms of default and foreclosure, among other items. Your third-party trustee. So anytime you're signing a deed of trust, or your clients are signing a deed of trust, there is going to be a line on there for the trustee. That is the representative who will technically hold title to the property until the loan is repaid. Yes, your client is on the deed, but there's a trustee who makes sure that the loan is paid out, and that they technically are the title holders until that loan is paid off. They're the folks who will appear at your foreclosure hearing to make sure that everybody has done what they're supposed to if it comes to a power of sale and a foreclosure. So really, if you've got a client who you're handling a listing for, and they're saying, well, I have to go to this foreclosure hearing, the third-party trustee or a representative from them is the person who's going to be in that office with them. Now, your foreclosure is just by the process by which a lender attempts to be made whole due to a borrower's default. So if someone defaults in any way, not exclusively, but almost, say, not 99% of the time by non-payment, then they can start that foreclosure proceeding to make sure that the lender is made whole. Non-judicial foreclosure is your clerk's hearing where the trustee proves that the default has happened. So they can prove whether the money's not been paid, and then they receive an order to sell the property. And that is kind of the scary thing that folks are really begin to get worried about once you start getting letters about non-judicial foreclosures. Short sale. That is a sale in which a loan servicer is willing to accept less than what is owed on the property to satisfy the mortgage. So you're going to see a lot of short sales coming out, I think, in the next year. I think you're going to see a lot of them, and I'll talk about the reason for that here in a bit. And then redemption. That is just paying all the monies due on an outstanding mortgage to prevent foreclosure. And that includes, if you get to the point where you're working with redemption, that means you're paying all the attorney's fees, all the late fees, all the lender's fees, all your past due payments, all that. You're paying all that in order to get you back in good standing with your lender. Does anyone have any questions about any of the definitions or anything like that? Awesome. So your next slide, we're going to talk first about forbearance, because we're seeing a lot of those come across. So what is forbearance? I consider it's a way for families or individuals to cope with a period of hardship. And there are several varieties to your forbearance. First off, there's lump sum forbearance, which is basically we're going to defer your payment for a certain amount of months until, let's say, 6 months down the road. You're going to have a lump sum due. So we're going to group all 6 of your payments, and if your payment is $1,000 a month, in 6 months you're going to owe $6,000 on the loan. We are seeing some of these lump sum forbearances take place right now. They are going to almost certainly fail in the majority of cases, and then that's when you're going to start seeing these foreclosures and short sales take place. Short-term repayment is going to operate somewhat similarly to a lump sum, only once you get those 6 months down the road, it's going to spread that $6,000 over a period of time. So basically you're going to see, let's say you've got instead of a lump sum, you've got that $6,000 and they want to spread it over 30 months. Well, they'll add an additional $50 plus interest, because it's always plus interest, to make sure to get that paid off. So it gives the buyer a better chance. Then you've got term extension. What that is it takes those 6 months that I'm operating on. I mean, it could be whatever term you agree to, but I'm just operating with a 6-month term. Take those 6 months, pick it up, place it at the end of the loan. So that's probably the most beneficial right now, is that term extension. And again, at the end of the term, they will be paying substantially more in interest than they would have otherwise. Lenders always are going to benefit from a forbearance, because you are going to continue to pay interest. Now, the forbearances that are coming in now are a little less beneficial to lenders because a lot of them are not necessarily interest. You're not paying as much interest on those. I know there are different requirements that they're putting on there that are preventing loan servicers from making that. However, they're still going to make more interest over time. And then they can also modify the loan to make it more affordable for the borrower. That's what happened to pull us out of 2008 with all the foreclosures then. I'm sure many of you have heard of HAMP. That was something that was put in place to basically pull a lot of folks and modify their loans and pull them out of foreclosure and put them back in a spot where they can retain their homes. And for some folks it worked, some folks it didn't, and we may be seeing something similar to that if housing gets that bad. I don't know. I don't think it is, but it could happen. So just do a little more research on HAMP. I could spend a whole hour talking about that.